How are you moving America forward?
Welcome to Moving America Forward, the series that celebrates the achievements and contributions of businesses and entrepreneurs across America. I'm your host, Tom Hegna. Today we're putting the spotlight where it belongs, on the fearless, innovative leaders who are building empires, breaking barriers, and driving real change in communities from coast to coast. These are the founders, the visionaries, the job creators who aren't just participating in the American economy, they're reshaping it. Every episode, we sit down with remarkable men and women who have turned their ideas into impact, hear their stories of resilience and triumph, and uncover the practical insights that can help the next generation rise. If you're out there with a dream, a business, or a bold idea, this is your show. I am very excited to introduce our next guest, Brett Blake. He's the CEO of Annuity.com. It's a retirement organization that is focused on helping retirees retire more successfully. He says it's potentially over a $2 trillion a year market. He's got experience scaling previous operations. He scaled one division from 50 million to nearly $1 billion. So welcome to the show, Brett.
Thanks, Tom. It's great to be with you.
My first question is, how are you moving America forward?
Well, our goal is to move America forward by helping seniors actually enjoy their golden years. We want those years to be golden, worry less, live longer, and not full of fear.
So I know your background, but the viewers don't. So kind of fill us in on your background.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My background really is centered around fixing challenging distribution problems. And probably my favorite problem was at a fitness company. We were trying to help people get into better shape, and we recognized that they needed support and they needed help. And we developed a distribution model that provided both the help and support they needed and access to products they needed. And so that's kind of my background, has been in that space, helping companies over the years. And I love to do that. I love to empower entrepreneurs. And I see an opportunity in the annuity space that is a distribution problem that needs to be fixed.
So what brought you to Annuity.com? That discovery?
Yeah, that discovery. Well, the truth is I had a friend who called me and said, hey, Annuity.com is available. And like you'd think, well, how in the world is that URL available? That was about 3 years ago. And they actually called me to try to help them find somebody who would buy it. And it didn't take me long to recognize that this was an amazing opportunity in an industry that I'm now really passionate about, and that had a distribution challenge that I thought that we could fix, and we're on the path to do that.
So what's broken with that distribution program?
Well, two things. First, it's an awareness issue. 54% of Americans claim they want guaranteed income, and only 25% of Americans are aware of what an annuity is. I mean, most people don't even know what it is, let alone that it's a solution that can help them. So that's the primary problem. But the deeper problem is that we've really focused over the last 40 years on teaching Americans how to fill their retirement bucket, but nobody's taught them how to turn the spout on without letting the entire bucket run dry. And that second half of the financial equation, the decumulation phase, is a serious challenge that has caused a lot of seniors to miss out on their golden years. And financial advisors are good at the accumulation, they're good at growth for the most part, but they really haven't been trained on the decumulation part of this. And maybe that's because I think it's more of an insurance problem than an investment problem. You see the insurance companies, as you know well, have figured out that you can have market participation with protection, and that you can actually have a life insurance, not a life insurance policy, but a policy backed by a life insurance company that will guarantee that you're not going to run out of money. You're going to know exactly what you're going to get for the rest of your life. And those insurance problems really provide the needed added tool to help you in once you have a full bucket.
You know, a lot of people are worried about running out of money in retirement, but the truth is many seniors spend way too little. And they never fully enjoy their retirement. I always tell people, you got to spend your money. Retirement's all about spending money, and I'm a saver, so it's hard for me to turn into a spender, but that's where annuities have helped me. I own 13 of them. I don't sell annuities. I own 13 annuities, all right? And I've got all these paychecks and playchecks coming in, and I'll spend those because I don't have to tap into my savings, and I think that's so important. So what do you think the industry has gotten fundamentally wrong?
Well, you know as well as I do that in part, we're operating on a retirement GPS that was programmed in 1973, right? And the roads have changed, and the terrain is different. And I'll give you an example. One of the old rules that I was taught, and most people were taught, is that you should be aggressive when you're young in your retirement savings and conservative when you're old. But that wisdom, if you will, that rule was developed in a much different time where retirees mostly had pensions. Retirement was, they didn't live quite as long, especially now that AI is going to expand our retirement. And we had a lot less volatility in the world. That world's gone forever. So if I were thinking about advising a young person today, I would say, listen, start by laying the foundation, and the foundation is guaranteed income. And imagine what life looks like if you start young, focused on guaranteed income, because it's, as you know, it's much less expensive to be able to lock in guaranteed income when you start young. And then when you're a little bit older, you're a little wiser, you have a little bit more money, you can actually take real risk with real confidence. And you can do that because you're not spending your need to have money, and you're probably going to have a much better return. So that's an example of some of the things I think we're getting wrong. We're giving advice that really doesn't account for the changes that have taken place in the world.
So is the rest of the industry starting to catch up with you and kind of recognize this?
Fortunately, I think that it is. When I first started looking at Annuity.com, people were saying, yeah, that's a great URL, but annuities are kind of have a bad reputation. But I think a lot has changed just in the last 36 months since I started looking at it. You're starting to see more and more mainstream research and mainstream financial houses starting to acknowledge that although, and I would acknowledge this, you shouldn't have 100% of your portfolios in annuities, right? But you should also not have 100% of your portfolio in the marketplace as well. And I think they're starting to see a balance. I had a great conversation with an executive who was one of the senior executives at probably the company that manages more 401k money than any other company in the United States. She said, Brett, we believe that annuities are a better risk match for retirees than 401ks. Excuse me, not 401ks, than mutual funds. Mm-hmm. And I started thinking about that, and that's profound because mutual funds have been the backbone of our 401ks. It's kind of what everybody taught you to think about in risk management. And she said, we believe that a good portion of the $22 trillion that are in those mutual funds will find their way into annuities in the next years. And we're going to be in the forefront. We're going to help many of our employee-based 401k plans to adjust their portfolios to include those annuities. And I think that's a great sign that I think things are moving in the right direction.
Well, you know, the research is overwhelming. And it's not just the PhDs. You know, for a while, academia is known for decades that the annuity was the proper solution for retirees. 20 to 40% of a retiree's portfolio should be in guaranteed lifetime income. But now BlackRock says it. And BlackRock doesn't sell annuities, but they say that your portfolio will do better if you have some guaranteed lifetime income. Goldman Sachs doesn't sell annuities, but they say the same thing. Barclays, you know, the Wall Street Journal, the case for moving some bonds to annuities. And Dr. Roger Ibbotson wrote a whole white paper showing that fixed index annuities have outperformed bonds for the last 40 years and are likely to do so for the next 40 years. So even if people just move their bond portfolio over into annuities, they'd be better off. So how is
Can I just jump into this? It's funny because I'm an unusual guy perhaps, but I actually spent a day having AI interview me as a CEO. And one of the questions, the conversation that came up in that conversation with AI was a simple question about the future of annuities. And AI, who has access to all of this data, came back and said, listen, Brett, you will see that annuities will become more and more mainstream and more central to retirement, not less so, because the math doesn't lie. I thought that's interesting. AI certainly is not selling annuities.
Right. And AI is very positive towards annuities because it knows that a foundation in retirement should be guaranteed lifetime income. So let's talk about how you're fixing this distribution problem in the industry.
Well, if you think about this, first of all, you have to understand it's not an investment problem, it's an insurance problem. And with that in mind, the number of individuals retiring is booming. The number of agents who are annuity specialists has been declining and is declining, in part because they're retiring. And so we've looked at the problem. We've said, listen, with the onset of artificial intelligence, we call it annuity intelligence, we have the ability to help empower every insurance agent with the ability to help their clients across the table with their retirement. So if you think about it, instead of relying on 100,000 annuity agents, we have another 450,000 Medicare agents. We have automobile agents and homeowner insurance agents and life insurance agents. When you talk to individuals and say, who's your annuity agent? Most people look at you like, what are you talking about? But if I said, who does your automobile insurance? A name comes to mind. So we believe we have the opportunity to empower the agents who have relationships in the insurance business to be able to have the conversations and sit across the table and understand the needs of their clients. And with the help of artificial, or again, annuity intelligence, to be able to have the processes and the helps and the systems to be able to help solve those problems. We don't need to develop a sales force from scratch, but we do need hundreds of thousands, 1 million plus agents to be able to really solve this problem and fill the gap between the 54% today who need it, who want it, who say that's what I'm looking for, and the 25% who know about it, and the 18% who have it.
So in the time that we've worked together a little bit, I've been so impressed with how you use AI. I mean, I am kind of at the kindergarten level of AI, but I use it every day, and it's helped me in so many different ways. But you're like many levels beyond me, and I think you're going to use some of that to help these agents. So why would an agent want to pick Annuity.com?
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at what can happen with artificial intelligence, we have the ability to be able to be much more comprehensive in a long-term view of our relationship with our clients, and provide not just products that we're familiar with, but there are 2,400 annuity products. We can help an agent make a better choice. So we will bring to bear for an annuity agent tools that will help them, processes, systems, and tools. There's also one other thing that really makes us unique, and I think this helps the client, and that is we offer stock options, ownership in Annuity.com to our agents. And why do we do that? Because we want to change the model. Annuity agents for too long have made a single sell and moved on and left their client to figure out retirement on their own. We want an annuity agent to be a lifelong retirement coach. We want their clients to feel like if I ever have an issue, if I have a need, if I need to refinance my retirement, I have an agent I know to call, just like I know the doctor to call, my accountant to call. They're there not only through their lifetime, but when they pass, they're a trusted advisor that's going to sit across the table from those who inherit that annuity, and they're going to be able to help them reposition that money as well. So that's our long-term view. In order for that to happen, we believe a long-term compensation is important. Give our agents a long-term view. And it doesn't hurt to have the industry URL, Annuity.com, where AI and SEO are recommending people come see us, and agents are able to pick up a little business from time to time because of that.
So now you mentioned this refinance retirement. Kind of explain that to me.
Well, we have one thing down pat in America, and that is when interest rates drop, you run to your mortgage broker and you refinance your home mortgage. We've got that down cold. But what we don't know and don't understand, and not enough agents are paying attention to, is the fact that when interest rates rise, you may need to go take a look at your annuities and your retirement portfolio, and it may be time to refinance your retirement and make sure that you're in the best products for the current environment. And I'll give you an example. I had a policy that wasn't that old, that I knew that interest rates had changed. And I went and took a look at it with the help of some, I have some good people I can turn to. They came back to me and said, listen, Brett, on your same principle, you're expecting a $201,000 result at the end of your contract period. We can refinance that into a contract that'll actually pay you $324,000, $120,000 plus more than I expected, just because I knew enough to make a phone call and to ask about refinancing. But the challenge is that most people don't know that, and most agents aren't staying in touch. We hope to be able to change that with technology to help us.
And sometimes if people said, oh, they had a bad experience with an annuity, I would say it's probably not with that annuity. It might have been with the index that they were in, because as you know, there are so many indexes out there, and some of them have way underperformed and some have way overperformed. And what I like what you're doing is you're focusing on the ones that are overperforming instead of underperforming, so that it's good for the client, it's good for the agent, and it's good for the company, because they keep doing business with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the key. We have, for some reason, we own the industry URL, and that gives me this longer term view that not only do I have responsibility to build a business, but I want to be really conscious about making sure that we gain more trust in the industry around annuities and doing the right thing for our clients, even if it pays us less. In the long run, is not only the best business decision, or not only the best outcome for our clients, but it's the best business decision. And that's
so now, how does this ongoing relationship with your agents, how does that work?
Yeah, for many years I've heard of assets under management, this idea of AUM. It used to be that in the financial services business you had a stockbroker, right? You had individuals who would sell mutual funds. Like, what do you do for a living? My first job was I was opening up the phone book, making phone calls for two guys who were selling mutual funds. But that changed to a place where instead of getting a commission on those sales, you were getting paid for managing assets for a long time. That mentality, I don't know about the fees. I like the fact that in our world of fixed annuities, we're not charging fees. But I like the concept of having AUM. And in our world, I call it annuities under management for retirees. So the AUM of retirees is annuities under management. And the concept is just like we've talked about, that you'll have a lifelong relationship with your retirement coach, retirement specialist, who will review your account with you on a regular basis, who will be a trusted advisor, and will know when to help you make moves when you need to make moves, and will be the first person you call when you're thinking about how do I improve, or how do I make sure that I have a worry-free retirement.
I mentioned earlier about how I'm impressed with how you use AI, but how does AI fit into all of this? Because it's playing a pretty big role at Annuity.com.
It's a huge role, and there's two roles that we see AI playing for us. The first is it empowers us to expand beyond the small base of annuity agents that are out there, and it provides us. Annuities are complex contracts. There are 2,400 products that we have available right now for our clients. And it takes years for annuity agents to become specialists, but those years can be reduced into minutes with an artificial intelligence engine that has access to a ton of information, all of those products, unbiased access to it. So we're using artificial intelligence to close that knowledge gap and to empower new agents and give them the tools that they need to help their clients from day one. But we're also we're planning to use artificial intelligence to be able to help our clients over the long term. I've talked about this AUM. That's empowered by artificial intelligence, who's reviewing contracts, constantly watching fluctuations in the market, and making us aware of opportunities to reach out to clients. That can now be pushed off into artificial intelligence so we can become much, much more responsive to our clients' needs as the market changes.
So what would success look like for Annuity.com? If you're looking out 10, 15 years, what does it look like?
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if this idea of annuities under management was a common phrase? Wouldn't it be great if refinancing your retirement was well known, just to like refinancing your mortgage? Wouldn't it be great if young people had a focus on guaranteed income early in life, in their late 30s and 40s? They kind of locked in their guaranteed income, and they didn't have to stress about retirement. They could take the rest of their money and start investing it in different ways. Those are, I think, outcomes that would be amazing. But really, back, I guess, to the first conversation you asked about moving America forward. Our tagline is worry less, live longer. And we really believe that if we can fix the guaranteed income problem in America, if we can help more retirees have guaranteed income, we can improve retirement for so many more people. So they have stress-free golden years and not full of worry, not full of fear, but full of fun. The kind of retirement I think that you're trying to live right now.
That's right,
Tom.
Yeah. Well, I wrote the book, Don't Worry, Retire Happy, and I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk.
You are walking the walk.
Yeah.
You become my new hero. I got to have retirement like you.
Well, you know what the research shows about annuities? 3 things. Number 1, if you add an income annuity to a retirement portfolio, it improves portfolio performance. That's a fact, not an opinion. The research shows that people are happier when they have guaranteed lifetime income than when they don't. And now the research shows that people live longer who have guaranteed, because they're being paid to live. And many of them choose to live differently. They watch what they eat, they exercise, they call the doctor when not feeling well. And so if you have something that improves portfolio performance, allows you to be happier and live longer, how could that be bad?
Yeah.
Now, Brett, you talked a lot about AI and its use with agents.
Yeah.
But how can a consumer use AI to help them?
Yeah. I think artificial intelligence is underutilized so much right today. So most people will use AI if they use it. They'll use it like a search engine, and or maybe a Wikipedia where they're asking questions or getting definitions. All that's really helpful. But I think you'd be surprised what you can get back if you actually start talking about your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. And a simple prompt, for example, is to go in and say, listen, I'm 58 years old. I have X amount of money, and I want to see how I can make that money last for the rest of my life. And what do you suggest? My goal is, this is the kind of retirement I want to live. Talk to it. Give it all the information you have. And don't give it your bank account numbers, obviously. And then ask it for answers. And you'd be surprised at the recommendations that it starts coming back with. And you can become well-informed just by engaging with artificial intelligence. You can also use it in a conversation. When you get a recommendation from an advisor, from an agent, listen to that, record that, and go back and counsel with AI. Now listen, AI is not perfect yet. It's getting better and better every day. A paid version of it is better than a free version of it. But it can be a great sounding board and a great way for you to validate and verify that you're getting good information.
I was doing a meeting a couple months ago, and an agent raised her hand and said, I made a proposal to a client. They gave it to AI, and AI said it wasn't a good recommendation. She said, how would you handle it? I said, well, I would have sent it to AI first and asked them, is this the optimal solution for this client? Yeah. And then I would have taken AI's advice and done it. And then when you presented it, when they go back to AI would say, that was perfect. That's exactly what you should do. And AI, by the way, is very pro-annuity because, of course, the research is very pro-annuity. Right. And it's these advisors who are asset under management people. They don't get paid on annuities, so then they don't recommend them. And I think there's a whole bunch of advisors out there that were good at growing people's wealth, but they are terrible at helping people retire. They don't recommend life insurance. They don't recommend long-term care insurance. They don't recommend guaranteed lifetime income. And those advisors, if you have one of those advisors helping you in retirement, you should fire them. They are a growth advisor. They are not a retirement advisor. And I think it's so important that people work with advisors who focus on the retirement situation?
Yeah, it's easy, right, to just say, hey, all of the financial advisors are not good, all the annuity advisors aren't good. The truth is that we can get better on both sides of that house. But can I, on one more thing on the artificial intelligence side of the house, we live in a scam world. And so many seniors, you know, my sister and I, my sister primarily recently, has spent a lot of times trying to get my dad out of a scam where we had to change his bank information. Before you act on an email, before you act on a text, copy and paste it and put it in an artificial intelligence engine and ask questions. And artificial intelligence is really good at helping identify scams, and it knows what to look for, and it can help prevent a lot of problems for seniors.
I got a call personally about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and they said they were calling from JP Morgan Chase, and about one of my accounts, and that I needed to go to my bank account and check, and they never asked for money, and they said, well, we've never asked you for money, but it was this whole thing that I was supposed to add a person to this, and I go, no, this is wrong, and so I typed it into Grok at the time, and they said, nope, scam, 100% scam, get off the phone with them, and so, I mean, it does work.
Yeah.
Now, one thing you said that I thought was very interesting, you talked about Medicare agents and property and casualty agents. Give me an example of how a Medicare agent or a property and casualty agent could work with Annuity.com.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you know, whether you realize it or not, your Medicare agent is recognizing things about your situation that they wish they could fix. One of them, for example, on the Medicare side is a penalty called IRMA. And IRMA is affecting about 5 million Americans right now. They're paying more for Part B and Part D than they should be based upon their gross adjusted income a couple of years ago, right? And Medicare agents by law can't talk to you about that in a Medicare interview, but they can call you back in a separate conversation, and they can say, hey, listen, there's some problems. So what we've done is we've empowered Medicare agents by giving them a simple tool that they can call their agents and say, hey, listen, Tom, many of my clients are paying more for Medicare than they should be. Can I ask you a few questions and see if you are? We've given them 5 simple questions using technology to empower that. That tool automatically calculates to determine if their client is paying more than they should. And if they are, annuities can be used to restructure your money and eliminate or at least reduce some of those IRMA charges. For many who aren't experiencing challenges with IRMA, you are probably getting hit with what we call the Social Security tax torpedo, and which means that they're getting charged taxes they may not need to be paying on their Social Security. And again, restructuring their income with annuities can help reduce those taxes as well. So we have created a simple training that teach Medicare agents how to identify these opportunities, software that helps them identify specifically which clients are affected, and then we've partnered them today with experienced annuity agents to be able to help their client. And their clients love it. I met with an agent in Medicare agent who've always wanted to sell annuities in Colorado Springs, and I gave her this simple script, just what I said to you. She called her client and said, hey, listen, many of my clients are paying more than they should be. Can I see if you are? And she was able to help a client immediately that next day transfer money. She taught her office. Within 1 week, they had identified 4 different families that had problems with IRMA or problem with Social Security, and they've been able to help them using annuities. So it's a great thing for their business, and it's a great thing for their clients' business. And by the way, we haven't really talked about this, but a lot of people have this misinterpretation that annuities are fee-based, and as you've taught, they're a spread-based product, just like a bank doesn't charge you, well, they're charging more fees than they used to for your savings account. But annuity agents are paid by the carrier from their spread. So meeting with an annuity agent isn't going to cost you anything. So these Medicare clients, these Medicare agents are becoming heroes to their Medicare clients that they have longstanding relationships with, because they're connecting them with solutions that don't cost them money. In fact, they just save them money and provide greater security for their money.
Yeah, and these big property and casualty operations, they would like to sell more annuities and life insurance, but they don't have the confidence. The agents don't have the confidence. Well, here, they can partner up with somebody who does have the confidence. They just need to set the appointment, and they get to share in all the success. It's a great operation.
It's great. We're just at the beginning of this process. We're just starting out. We're using, as I said, we're pairing Medicare agents today with experienced annuity agents. In the future, we hope to be able to allow AI to enable them to be more confident and have all the information they need right at their fingertips as we go forward.
Well, Brett, this has been a great conversation. I know there's going to be consumers that need some help, and agents that may want to, and people who say, you know what, I think I could do that. We had people in here yesterday that had been in the business, another business, 25 years, and this is like their second or third career, and they're very successful because they want to help people retire. So how can people get a hold of you and Annuity.com?
Yeah, luckily we have a URL that's easy to remember. If you really are looking for an opportunity to relook at your retirement portfolio and maybe refinance your annuities, Annuity.com is a place to go. You'll find plenty of information there, and we can connect you with an expert in your area if that will help. Or if you're an agent, go to joinannuity.com, and you'll get everything you need to know there.
You know, I've got a son and a daughter that are going to be joining Annuity.com here in the next 6 months.
And we're excited to have them.
So thank you very much, Brett, for joining us. And you are certainly moving America forward. And thank you to all of you for watching another episode of Moving America Forward. How are you moving America forward?